Greetings, SciFiction awesomeness. My name is Owen C. Cotter, and you're watching SciFiction on all digital channels X, YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. We're going to let everybody pour in the broadcast here in just a second. We've got some interesting topics to talk about today, some sci fi, a little bit of everything, and some other things that are on my mind. We've got a guest today, maybe two, but at least one. My good friend Francisco Pinochet from Fastcom Corp, which is a technology company, will be joining us today, and he'll be talking with us about some awesome things and some viewpoints. So let's stay tuned. Hope everybody's having a beautiful weekend, Saturday awesomeness on the digital goodness too. I'll bring up the chat window here so I can moderate that. Feel free to ask questions. We're going to be talking about a multitude of topics today, so stay tuned on that. Just get ready to join in on the broadcast. My name is Owen C. Cotter. If you have not followed our pages, we're on Facebook at SciFiction COM, X and TikTok at SciFiction, and YouTube at SciFiction Official, where we dump a lot of the Comic-Con and different interviews and footage onto the awesomeness that is the internet. So stay tuned on that. If you're watching on the East Coast, it's probably 2:16 to 3:16 p.m. On the West Coast, about 1 o'clock or so. So just stay tuned on that. Everybody having a beautiful weekend, I hope. We have a lot of good stuff going on in the ecosphere of pop culture as well. We'll go over a few things real quick on the site while we're waiting on our guests to join us. Just put up some trending news topics. Have Metroid Prime 4 Beyond release date has been announced by Nintendo. It's coming out in December. There's a little trailer for that on there. 6 times Batman and Superman proved they're best friends. Andor Season 2 wins 4 Emmy Awards. And new supernatural comedy Decken no Megara makes a fun impact for summer. It's a cool article. Also got a few more things on there. Breathtaking news. Keanu Reeves is interested in reprising his role as Johnny Silverhand for Cyberpunk 2. So no advertisement goodness there. We get down to this. And No Man's Sky sees massive player surge with Voyager updates. Best brain versus brawl moments in comics. These are all the trending news items on the site. It's about a dozen new items. So go check out the new items if you get a chance at SciFiction.com. We're also on Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, SoundCloud, Tumblr, big following on there, and TikTok at SciFiction. So feel free to follow us on all the digital goodness that is the digital goodness. Waiting on our guest here to join us. We're going to be talking about some interesting topics today, a little bit different motif, but still some sci-fi references and goodies to come. So stay tuned. We're waiting on my good friend Francisco to join us. I hope everybody's having a beautiful weekend. Stay tuned. Feel free to chime in on the comments on this one. This is going to be an interesting discussion. Got a lot of things we're going to be talking about today. A lot of goodies. Have y'all seen the recent trailer for they have the new Tron Ares? That's looking like a really good film. I can't wait to see that. They launched a featurette on Disney's platform about a few days ago or something like that. We have an article up on the site that is actually I have an interesting article. Let me show you that real quick. We're waiting. That is because I'm about ad blockers on my side. That's why that's showing up like that. Tron Ares. It's an interesting article. Tron Ares breakdown. Who is Ares and what does he want? I have many theories on who Ares is. I know he's been confirmed. This identity disk here is not an Incom disk. That is a Dillinger Systems disk. Wink, wink, hint, hint, Dillinger. If you're not familiar with the Tron era, Dillinger is the guy that stole the games from this guy, Kevin Flynn, in the original film. And that's how Kevin got in the grid, because he was Master Control Program, took him in there. I think Ares is a sentient soldier program that happens to be in the grid and it comes to the real world. They're put, hey, Chiquita, be quiet, that's my dog. Hey, Chiquita, hold on just a second. You got to calm him down. He's my guard dog there, guarding from all the galactic evil scum of the universe. Hope everybody's having a beautiful weekend. If you're watching this, my name is Owen C. Cotter, and we are SciFiction. We are going live on SciFiction simulcasting right now on all the digital goodies. That is the interwebs, all the digital goodness. So we're about to bring in some guests. So stay tuned here. Just chatting with our guest there. If you like science fiction, pop culture, everything from anime to video games to movies to television, you name it, feel free to go to our site at SciFiction.com. We cover just about every single thing you can imagine from sci-fi, fantasy, superhero, cyberpunk, steampunk, little diesel punk, television, comics, anime, podcast. Got some new podcasts on there. Got one with the exclusive interview with actor Brian Toshi. He was in the Ninja Turtles, Police Academy, Revenge of the Nerds, all kind of goodies, all kind of stuff there on the digital awesomeness. We have my good friend Francisco in the Quantum Leap waiting room. Why don't we bring him on and talk about some goodies? Francisco, how's your day going?
Hey,
Happy
Owen.
Saturday. How's it going, man? We are live simulcasting on all the digital goodies from X, YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. So we're going to go over some things today. Can you introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about what you do in the world of awesome?
Of course. Hey, guys. Hey, everyone. My name is Francisco Pinochet. I'm an entrepreneur. I founded the company Fascon Corp, and on top of that, I'm a big sci-fi all my life. Star Trek, Stargate SG-1. The list is
Star Wars is
it's
all kind
big.
of good. Very, very big.
Yeah.
So what
Star Trek, Star Wars.
we're going to set yeah, Star Wars is good. Speaking of Star Wars, we're talking about the Andor won 4 Emmy Awards for season 2 this a few days ago. It's a lot of awards they won. So the premise of this discussion, I'm going to let you kind of go into what we had talked about before the live stream, a few of the topics we're going to be discussing. I'm going to let you kind of have the floor on that to start with. You there? You froze up. You there? Hello? Hello, 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 hello. Hold on a second here. Froze up there. Hold on a second. Can you hear me? Can you see me? To relog back in, man, I think you had a little broken signal there. Hold on just a second, everybody. A little communication disruption here. I don't know. It might be on his end. It looks like we're going to be bringing him on back on here shortly in the broadcast. My name is Owen C. Cott. If you're watching this is SciFiction. SciFiction.com is our website. We're not sponsored by Rain Energy, but it is good stuff. It's the peach flavor. I like the blue raz flavor, whatever. The berry flavor is pretty good too. Stuff's terrible for you, but whatever. For today, we're going to drink some. But we have a lot of things we're going to be talking about in the broadcast, so stay tuned. While we're sitting here, we're going back to the podcast section. I was going to show you some things. So we got that. We also got an exclusive interview with Love, Death, and Robots creator Tim Miller. That was back in June. Reporting in some new interviews there. We got interviews. These are the video interviews here. Got a new interview with Alan Tudyk, who plays K2SO in Andor. Exclusive interview with Shin Godzilla director Shinji Higuchi. It's an amazing interview there with that one. And the lot of good stuff with that. Trying to connect internet. Yes. Okay, cool. Let me text him. Cool. Um, keep me posted. I'm getting him some internet there. He is actually out of the country. Can't tell you where in top secret location, so he may have a little bit of internet difficulty, but hopefully he can get that reestablished on the digital awesomeness. This is the site right here. We'll let that float for a second. Let me turn on some soft music for everybody to listen to while we figure out the technical difficulties or technical issues, rather, with the awesomeness of awesomeness. Put that on real quick for everybody to listen to.
monsters. But then as I grew up, I realized that it's a way.
Such like in real deal company.
I always said when I enjoyed it as a kid, it was because of monsters. But then as I grew up, I realized that it's a way to sneak in things, a commentary on, it's always been that, science fiction, a commentary on our society and how we live. So to me, this is the great escape. You come for the monsters, you stay for the art.
My one guy really growing up was Batman. I really grew up with Batman, but I started acting when I was 8.
I really love the show The Flash. Obviously, The Boys is a different take on all of that superhero stuff, but yeah, definitely, I would say I'd use stuff from watching other superhero things in my performance.
I'm excited when newcomers come through, and I'm excited by their work, and I take inspiration from their work, and if they've taken some from me, that's great.
I think back often to like the early days because I really knew nothing. I was going in kind of like fish out of water, and that our stunt coordinators and fight coordinators took me under their wing. But
what did I learn by being Captain Kirk? Terror, fright, people pursuing all the time, asking a question like, what's it like to be Captain Kirk? I became intrigued, not that I wasn't, but even more so about what's out there. What's out there? Is there life out there? And if it's life, what's it thinking? What are we doing? What's our fate? The questions that you might think as well.
Having a little technical difficulties here. This is Owen Cotter with SciFiction.com. We are operating on all thrusters, just waiting for Francisco to rejoin us. We're looking over the site. That was just a little internet goodies from the site. If you go to the site, that's our featured latest video. It's a presentation we did from the 52nd Annual Saturn Awards Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror. We will be hopefully going back for the 53rd anniversary of Horror Saturn Awards Sci-Fi, Horror, and Fantasy here in February. They've not released the dates on that yet. We've got a whole laundry list of stuff coming up this year we're looking at going to, so stay tuned on that. Waiting on Francisco to join us back. And there you go. But this is Owen Cotter Sci-Fiction. You're watching. We are on simulcasting on all thrusters, on all galactic goodies. Going here over the site, got a lot of new stuff. We've been packing on a lot of content. If you've been going to the site, there's a ton of new content. We got television, doing a lot of coverage of the new Alien Earth. Episode 6 reviews coming up today or tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. Marvel Zombies, it's another one. A whole bunch of goodies on there. I think Francisco's back in the Quantum Leap waiting room. Let's bring him back. Second here. Francisco, can you see and hear us on the digital awesomeness?
I can now.
There you are. Better
I
connection.
had to restart.
It's all good.
All right, I'm
good.
loud and clear. No lag, right?
No, you're not lagging at all. I wanted you to go over some of the highlights of what we're going to be talking about. Kind of let you lead the floor today a little bit on that. A little bit different discussion, but go ahead.
Well, I think it was the topic when you brought me on. I think you want to talk a little bit, parallels of Charlie Kirk and about how, in general, how something similar in the sci-fi world has happened and so forth. I guess, do a little bit of a sci-fi political view and as well as, and what's going on in real life.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. There's a lot of buzz going on about that on the social media, the internet, the television, all the news. Whatever you think, I don't believe in violence at all. Our slogan at SciFiction is envisioning a positive future, looking like it's going to be kind of looking like a little bit of a Star Wars future if you kind of think about it. What are your viewpoints on that? We do have so there's a video clip you sent me, which we'll show later in the broadcast. But what are your thoughts on what's going down with that whole scenario and all the stuff that's going on with that?
Well, it kind of reminds me. I mean, if you kind of look at what happened with Charlie Kirk, let's kind of just break it down step by step, because there's a lot of emotion going in there, and we're just going to be pragmatic. We're just going to get right down to it. What Charlie Kirk, how people have reacted to him in general, how he died, and especially what he represented. It affected not just Americans, but people across Europe, all over the world. because he was going to colleges, given a platform, and it wasn't just about speaking his views, what he thought, Christian's perspective and so forth. He was allowing people in a platform to have serious discussions about, what were these, what serious topics in our society today, in the U.S. in general, and it was, a lot of these things were controversial, and and he made a lot of enemies. It's obvious to what happened. And what do you think on all this, Owen? I followed Kirk, for like, let's say 4 or 5 years. I've seen his, how he was, but what's your take on it?
I think it was horrible the way and what they did to him. And I think that, whether you agree with him or not, I think it was, I don't believe in the violence and what they did. And there's been a lot of, of course, they came out originally, there was an old man that did it. Then there's a kid that did it. Then there was what you showed me today, which I hope is still on the internet. You mind if we show that real quick? This is,
yeah, go ahead and show it.
Yeah, this is a clip that kind of brings up some questions. We're going to show this real quick. So everybody, there's no blood or anything, I don't think. I think they cut it off at the end there. But this shows gentlemen going in depth into kind of what happened. I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit. Got a touch interface here. Let's bring this up. So first, before we play this, you'll see him there talking. You'll see a gentleman in the back, and he looks like in the black, and then you see a gentleman here in the white with the cap. You've heard the guy doing the signals with the cap and all that. Pay attention to the guy over here to the left with his arm here. I'm going to play this and let everybody just kind of watch it real quick, then we'll talk about it. See if the audio's up on this real quick. Let's get to the original audio here. Here it is. It'll bring up the audio. Hold on a second. I want the audio.
So somebody sent me this footage today. Let me know what you guys think, because it's a different angle and I had not seen.
There it is. There it is. Notice he's like that.
Yeah,
Yep.
that angle right there,
Yeah.
I can't believe that. Yeah, I can't believe nobody's, this has gone viral all over the internet. And
Yeah.
I mean, you can't fake that. I don't see, like, if you kind of look at, what the media has presented and so forth, uh, like the people doing the signs and so forth. And I'm not going to go into the military tactics and so forth, but
Right.
if in order to pull something that off and then have a kid, a 22-year-old to pull that off, sure, they
Right.
can be trained, but having this angle and how it's obvious that there's a
There is a
cover up
cover-up,
going
yeah.
on. And here's the other part about it, and I've never seen something like this before. I mean, this is reminds me like JFK, although I wasn't born.
We'll tell
I
you the
wasn't
story
alive,
on
but
that here in a second.
historically
I know who
reading
killed
it,
JFK. Most people
this
do
is
not.
like,
I'll tell you that. You want me to tell you who killed JFK? So my grandfather, yeah, we're going to take on
let's take
JFK,
on
and then we'll get back
JFK.
to Charlie Kirk. I think this story needs to
Go
be
ahead.
told. I told the story to a major radio producer, and he looked at me. He's like, "Are you serious?" He wanted to have my grandfather on the air, but he died and got sick kind of a year or two later, and it couldn't be on the air. But I'm going to tell this story. So he used to treat Lyndon B. Johnson before he was president, when he was just starting to kind of move up the ranks, and he would get in a lot of bar fights, and he would have to bring him. My grandfather was a colonel in the U.S. Medical Services and a surgeon. So him and his business partner, who's been dead for many years, Dr. Kinzer, would get late night phone calls. Hey, LBJ's been in another bar fight. Can you bring him over to the Motel 6 or something like that and patch him up? So him and his business partner would go out there and patch him up. Now, the guy that would bring him in was his best bro, Roy S. Truly. Okay, Roy S. Truly was this kind of unique character, was really good buddies, like tight with LBJ. In his day, Roy S. Truly worked for the U.S. Army, was top U.S. sniper, yada, yada, yada. Flash forward, Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, the school book depository, Kennedy assassination, yada, yada. When they heard that shot that went around the world with Kennedy, they immediately called up the chain, and somebody picked up sooner or later after being transferred around, and they said, that sounds like a Truly shot. And they picked up, said, please, we beg of you, Dr. Cotter, Colonel Cotter, whatever his rank was at the time, as he had worked his way up, and Dr. Kinzer, please, we beg of you to drop this subject. Basically threatened my grandfather, was we cannot guarantee safety to your family. Click. Do you know where Roy S. Truly was the day of the Kennedy assassination? He was the head of the Texas School Book Depository and Lee Harvey Oswald's boss. There is black and white deposition videos on YouTube from that day when they went in with the FBI to interview. So he was a patsy, a lone gunman most likely, or maybe Oswald was the second, but I believe he was the lone gunman that was put Harvey on the fence, and then basically they got rid of him. But he was the lone gunman, and to get his boy LBJ in the office, and he, if you've ever listened to Kennedy's last speech of freedom of press, there you go. But he got his boy LBJ in the office. Now let's talk more about Kirk. In my opinion, Kirk was set up a precedence for he could have even been a president down the road. But of course, what happened? He basically is a catalyst that created a great storm of patriotism, and a good one at that. He ended up, his viewpoints, I believe, are directly responsible for getting the president and now into office. And I don't think that I wouldn't call him the left. I would call him the radical, crazy, fanatical, or whatever, maybe a cover-up. We don't know. We're just presenting theories and things here. Was responsible for the eradication of what is Charlie Kirk and what he represented and what he stands for. What are your thoughts on that, Francisco?
Well, I mean, just like you said, I think investigators need to look deeper into the evidence. I mean, come on. I mean, you got to look at all the angles, get the whole evidence, because here, I think our law enforcement has to be really careful right now, and I think President Trump and as well as many others are taking away because of who Charlie Kirk, who he represented, the platform, so forth. The problem is this was elevated. His status was elevated based on the reaction of people, saying, "Oh, we're talking radical left, just people. Oh, I'm glad he's dead," and that just blew up a lot of people's face. I mean, it just exploded. I myself, I mean, this is a husband,
Yes.
a wife.
They were in the
his
audience, by the
wife.
way, for people that don't know that. His
He's
children
dead.
and his wife, which I believe that's horrifying. Yeah,
And on
his
top
wife.
of that, that's going to mark them for their entire lives. This is not going to be an easy. And the fact is, it is, well, let's say human rights and all this other stuff. Where's the human rights for, where are they? And instead, the left in general, Democrats, and many of them, I know many are denouncing leaving the Democratic Party and
Right.
saying, it ain't right to laugh and celebrate. I think TMZ is kind of caught in something like that as well. I mean, there's just many outlets. There's just many people all over hospitals, just in general. And I think this is part, like, if these people are reacting the way they are to Charlie Kirk, everybody has just summarized it, throwing across America, black flags and so forth. It's kind of like there is no more, the time for talking is no more.
Right.
Talking's over. And what these people have done, demonizing and talking, just, oh, I'm just glad Charlie Kirk is dead, has just put and lit a fire, and not just in the United States, but even in
Global.
the UK. More than 1 million people. Yeah, I mean, showing up for patriotism and so forth. Is that why? Because we're not going to get into so much this subject. Is that Charlie Kirk, Candace, what was being said and so forth, and there's a money trail going on, and this money trail left goes to certain NGOs, leftists, and so forth, and it's just follow the money. What's going on, and these people in general who are mad is, there are people on the left who are also mad about the thing, but sadly, I don't know. I can't say a poll, but it's I would say like a galactic situation. What's going on here? Because believe people are going to now take action. I mean, it's not. People are said enough is enough. I mean, yes. if the left wanted, I think they didn't expect so many people to.
They didn't expect an amplified
react to him.
Response.
I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
And on top of that, there's people now, coming to Christ or saying, I'm going to get a Bible. I'm going to church. A lot of churches are talking. Even I went to church today talking about Charlie Kirk's faith and so forth. Mm-hmm. And, by his death, a lot of people are those who are Christians and don't, I'm just saying that, a lot of them coming to God or asking questions now, and the impact people are reviewing. Who is this guy, Charlie Kirk? Why did he die? But I think it's not just a religious matter. It's also a matter of, the right to speak freely, to have debates, and that thing that made America great.
Yeah,
and
that's what made America great.
It's just a double impact.
Yeah. And, I was looking over some stuff yesterday.
So what are your thoughts on that one?
I totally agree with what you're saying. I was looking over some things yesterday in my feed, and one thing caught a lot of attention almost every hour, 2, maybe 3 times every hour. I know it was a lot. It was being heavily promoted during the feed. And it was from, I'm just going to say, I've had many people comment me on this, and people have been talking about this with me all week long, because they know I'm a big Star Wars fan. I also like Star Trek and sci-fi and everything. I love everything sci-fi. But they brought this point up. Before I show this, I'm not bashing or anything. These are straight facts. You can go on the internet. A lot of people screenshotted what he said. And for like a straight 24 hours or so, he's promoting very positive, sympathetic viewpoints on Charlie's death, and talking about how he's getting the Medal of Freedom, which Trump is going to probably give him that post-mortem. And this actor, turns out this morning, says his Facebook page has been hacked. And I kind of lost a little bit of respect for this guy. I've always looked up to him as a big sci-fi icon. Boom, there it is. So he comes out with a public statement after all this super positive, stuff being pumped on social media, and by the way, he got 20,000 new subscribers. I noticed, because I used to manage networks that reached 1 billion people a year, as you know, and I've seen the analytics, all organic. He then comes out, Billy D. Williams, saying, "My friends, I want to let you know that my account was recently hacked. Several unauthorized posts were made that were not legitimate. These posts do not reflect my views, thoughts, or beliefs in any way, which is fine. I deeply appreciate your patience and understanding as we work with Facebook to resolve these issues and restore full security to this page. With gratitude, Billy D. Williams. Now, what I will say about that is that, yeah, maybe he was hacked. Who knows? But it's kind of in that Hollywood ecosphere of where maybe it is. I'm just saying my viewpoints on this. He could have been hacked. But if he wasn't, may have been his publicist or his mentor saying, you're getting a little too out of control with this. Why don't you reel back and clean it up? Because he does represent Disney. What they have different viewpoints on everything. I mean, all these companies do. But he may have been told that by management to just reel back, or he may have been hacked. Who knows? But I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, for a straight day, he's being, all this stuff's being there, and it just magically the next morning, boom, that shows up in his feed. And there's a lot of people there that are saying like, okay, can't fence sit on that one. He's one of the main ones that really was popping up in my feed. And I'm like, okay, Star Wars. Maybe we're living in a real life Star Wars. I don't know. But what are your thoughts on that and that actor and other people, especially him? He's at 20,000 subscribers. I'm pretty sure he's going to lose some because that they're probably following, thinking he's patriotic and sympathizing. But what are your thoughts on that?
There's a comment in there. If you go ahead and show it over there, go ahead and show the screenshot real quick.
I'll show that up here.
That post right there. I want to point to something, one of the comments real quick.
Yeah. That top one?
Look what Ellen says. Bowen says, yeah, it says, well, here we're hoping you were actually that person that your hacker pretended you were.
Yeah.
I think that sums it up along with the other replies, because it's kind of like, we thought you were a real person. We had sympathetic. What it makes people question is
he could have been. That could have been his actual statement.
Why are you saying you were hacked? Maybe he could have been hacked.
Here's what I think. Here's what I think, and I would like to think this. I think possibly he may have been that may have been maybe his actual beliefs. Someone up the chain, his publicist, a manager, Disney, whoever, said, hey, you cannot be posting this stuff on social media, and said, delete it all, change it up, come up with a public statement. That's kind of what I'm leaning at, just my thoughts. Several people today mentioned that to me. I don't know. I like the guy. I mean, I like his character in Star Wars. Yeah, I just don't think that was a little odd, but whatever. But go back to Charlie Kirk and the scenario of what happened and what actually is going on with the amplification of the impact of his death. What do you foresee happening in the next several years? I'm sure there'll be more voices that'll come out and promote positivity and patriotism like we're doing in this broadcast, hopefully getting some points and some viewpoints addressed. What do you think the next 5 years or several years will be in this ecosphere, and especially during the there's still several years left, 2 or 3 years left of the Trump administration? And what do you see coming forward in the next decade, late 2020s and 2030s from the impact of all that?
I think right now it's a revolution. Right now what I see, it's a revolution going on. I mean, it's no doubt about it. It's like, it's more than a revolution, I think, because it's like a crusade, honestly, because of what me and you have shared, the past, 2 days. And, that's why you brought me on board and talk about it, have this discussion. It's like, I don't know, like it's like the Torah, rebellion and all this other things. How there are things like the rebellion, Star Wars. We can just go into it. I think this is a cultural fight. I think this was the fire to ignite things. For instance, look what Charlie Kirk's wife. Like how. Yeah. I mean, and she's like, how she addressed everybody. That took to what she did,
And she's equally as articulate and verbally outspoken as her husband, too, if even maybe more so.
Yeah, exactly. And she knows we're coming after. We know who it is. We know. And that's another topic for them to address. That's, for me, we're just commentating on the fact, of a letter and all these other things. We're just getting to it, but we're talking about the impact, what the other side did, what how they laughed, how they said, "Oh, how happy! Look at this broken-hearted woman, and the people around the family." Why America was the portion was laughing at this or so glad? I'm sorry, that's pretty evil. There's no doubt that's pretty evil. And that, because of that, even the European Union, even in to give respects to Charlie Kirk, they didn't want to have a moment of silence.
There needs to be a holiday in my
and that just infuriated people. And that's it. Enough is enough.
I think there's been many
and the
go ahead.
It's kind of like all these these communists, these radical guys. Enough is enough. I think people are taking action. Look, over 1 million people in London, unheard of, historical. I mean, I think, and all across the world, people are just gathering together in public places. I mean, this is, I think to calm the thing down, I think the people who did this need to be brought to justice. I mean, if this doesn't get resolved, I can just see this getting worse and worse and worse. And people can twist that to their own political narratives and just go the other way. I think President Trump, lawmakers need to know they got to hold these people responsible, whoever did it.
I want to show something right quick while you're mentioning that. This is the aerial shot of over 1 million people in London and the UK. As you see seas of people, hundreds of thousands of people. This has created a amplified rebellion, revolution in sense, like you had mentioned, and not only in the United States, but in the world. You see other global flags there represented in this image. And this is just the beginning of the human adventure, as Gene Roddenberry said. And this is something that has never been seen before, in my opinion, in the history of mankind. I mean, this is like bigger than Woodstock times 10 here, okay, or more than that. This is something that has created a catalyst, I hope and believe, that envisioning a positive future, as our slogan brings a point, a positive future for everyone, and a catalyst for good. And I hope that being said, just me and you talking and others that are, proactive and not, you have your respect either, opinion, but you don't have to be nasty about it. The man is dead. There's many other people that have outspoken and have viewpoints, and there will be many more positive voices in the future that will be able to hopefully promote and guide humanity on a better track. I think that, it's a shame and a tragedy of what has happened here to him and to what has happened just, and generally over the last few years, anyone that stands up against, or stands for rather, human rights and positivity and, making the world a better place, or, goodwill and peace towards others and so forth, usually is not looked upon by like you said, you got to follow where the money is, and where the money comes and where it goes is who's to blame, who's to profit, who's to benefit from those evil and bad intentions. And what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, you're going on we can have that discussion for a very, but just to condense it, we're in pretty much agree with you in that same track. It's in society, how things have gone. I mean, like, I want to kind of go into it real quick on this. In order for us to advance, and Gene Roddenberry, society to advance is very important that we have, what made America great, what made the West great, the values and so forth. Those things must go back and reform that. We need to go back to the principles. It starts in the home, man and woman, all that, just all the whole familiar things. Sure, if you think about it, Christianity, Judeo-Christianity in general has been the most, tolerant and has adapted to allow many nations, many people, religions to go so forth, and allow people to live a peaceful life, especially in the United States where those beliefs are, But what has happened is, where has this put? You got certain groups that are trying to push Christian way that made America great and other nations great, like England and so forth. I mean, it begs to question, leaders to question, hey, what's going on here? But I will say this, that we're right now in where AI is taking a whole new level in what we're transforming society. And imagine next generation technologies that exist that hasn't come out or will come out.
Yes.
And we need to have strong values for certain technology to manage technologies, because the more complex things get, the higher responsibility there is. We got to do good with people. We have to obey the laws of the land, laws in general, and where it doesn't harm humanity, or those kinds of principles. I mean, that's one of the things I love about watching sci-fi in general, because it talks about those things. Even in the Gundam UC series,
Got my
Unicorn,
30th anniversary Gundam.
Wing. I mean,
Comic-Con, thanks to Aaron. Awesome. Thank you, Aaron. Yeah, but go ahead, Gundam. You were talking about Gundam.
One analogy about that, talking about Gundam Unicorn or Gundam Wing and all this, but the Universal Century Gundam series is a pretty incredible, because you got political families fighting for control of the Earth sphere and so forth. So what I see here, on top of what's going on with Charlie Kirk, I think it's going to be a interesting events going on that area. For instance, Trump, the Trumps, the conservatives, and then you got the other guys who are pushing certain narrative scenario going on, playing out, I believe.
I recently sat in on a planetary society meeting and press junket or presentation, and everybody was saying, well, they cut the funding and this down to the bone for NASA and yada yada, which the funding is only like 0 point something % of the national budget or something like that, they were saying. But there was a lady in the audience who worked with space sciences on curing diseases and cutting future edge, next gen research. And her viewpoints were actually amazing. And there's another gentleman there I talked with who had some really good viewpoints as well. But she specifically said, basically Cliff Notes version, we got to get this planet, get everybody getting along and working together on the planet before we can explore to the stars and go beyond. We didn't want to bring that to another planet or another, biosphere, like you were saying. So I thought that was really cool. And the audience was eating that up. And it was very positive stuff, what she was saying at that Planetary Society meeting. And, Bob Picardo and Tim Russ and all those guys are great guys, and Bill Nye. And I think, that if we're going to go to the stars and live that science fiction, Gene Roddenberry or futuristic positive vision of the future, we have to get along, have to settle things down here on the planet Earth before we can do that and go forward in the future and beyond. What are some of your...
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Oh, no,
I agree.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite sci-fis that kind of some lessons? You're talking about Gundam. What are some of the other scenarios you've seen in science fiction, since we're a sci-fi channel? Not the sci-fi, it's a sci-fiction. Sci-fi is SYFI. But what are some of the viewpoints that you see sci-fi in different series, and you can name a couple that would kind of resonate on that frequency of kind of getting global relations geopolitically and just the civilian sector getting along where we can move forward to a more positive future? You there? Nope.
Can you hear me? There's a good bit I'm here. You
Ghost
hear me?
Show. The Ghost Show.
Seen,
yeah, I can hear.
Yeah. Do you seen? This topic here, I believe with this one, I think with Star Wars and Star Trek, because I think a lot of them identify, because if we start talking about other
those
sci-fi,
are the two.
I think we're going to get people lost.
I think those are the top.
And we're.
Well, let's talk about Star Wars for a second. Yeah. What are your viewpoints reflecting on this real life with Star Wars? And then we'll talk about Star Trek.
So what we have here going on, rebellion and the Empire, that's what I see. I think with this Charlie Kirk thing happening, I think we see it like where you see the Empire and the Rebellion. I think this is what the Empire wants, and this is what the Rebellion wants. I think we see where the Republic has now. The Republic in general has now. There's a fracture now, and in the values of the values what made the Republic great is now what the rebellion is fighting for. Yeah. And you got the Empire who wants this authoritarian, this kind of society. That's the big push, and people are seeing it. I mean, a lot of people are talking about it, and even this whole thing with Charlie Kirk is like, hey, I'm not going to mention companies and certain people, but they're like, they're trying to bring this and that and so forth, and it's just. It's I don't want to go too much into it. I'm just trying to keep it low key on that one.
I'm going to take over the Star Trek motif. Star Trek is basically talking about getting along in that utopian societal vision of the future for humanity. Everyone's gotten along and worked out more or less their differences on Earth. All the governments are united, and they unite the United Earth and United Federation of Planets. As of 2160 something, Federation was founded by, Federation Charter by Captain Archer. Then they reached out into the stars and beyond. By the time that happened, we'd already worked out our differences. And of course, you run into some obstacles. The Klingons, which they eventually became part of the Federation, by the way, and the Borg were a big antagonist. They got defeated. Picard season 3, spoiler alert. Gotta check it out. Amazing series. But the vision of the future that was presented in Star Trek, and as well Star Wars, with evil versus good versus hopefully triumphs over evil. The vision of the future in Star Trek, whereas more intellectual in some capacities, more cerebral. Of course, the original pilot, that's but a different story from their time, but was projecting a scenario where voices can be heard and global conflicts can be settled and things can move forward into the human adventure is just beginning, as Gene Roddenberry said. And there was a quote that, he said that, let me see if I can get this quote right. He said something about, this flesh and blood vehicle that we travel in today is merely, basically is just as a vessel to deliver a message or something like that to the future. That is a really good explanation of what, Charlie Kirk, that was his message and where his corporeal version of where he is there. Maybe he transitioned in the flip of the coin to Star Wars to the Force. Maybe he's one with the Force, and maybe there have been his works here on Earth inspired others to, do things in the future that are better and bigger and can move humanity forward and beyond. So that's my viewpoints on that. Wrapping up, I want to talk a little bit for about 5 or 10 minutes about, positive things. You mentioned AI. I'm interested in AI. I think it could be used for good. I think there's a lot of positive scenarios with AI that could be used for a lot of positive things. For all we know, AI could be the next greatest thing since sliced bread, if possibly used for good. It could come up with the formula for the cure to cancer. It could come up with propulsion blueprints that create faster than light travel. We don't know. And you've got a lot of many players in that ecosphere. You've got NVIDIA. They're doing the chip print set. You've got Elon Musk doing stuff with the robots, and Tesla and automated technologies and all kind of goodies. What do you see based in your field of technology at Fastcom Corp for the future in the next 5 years with AI and different other future tech that could benefit mankind? A handful of things or 2 or 3 things you kind of focus on in that dialogue.
I believe we have to first make there are things that AI can amplify. We got to think about this. We got to amplify. Here's the thing. AI doesn't define what humanity needs to do. I think it amplifies what humanity and AI does. I think for AI to be successful, we as humans got to lead it. We have to give AI the moral compass in how to do things. Now, I can see breakthroughs in medicine, mathematics is already happening in every single area. And I think it has to be like, I think robotics is going to take a huge huge thing right now. It's incredible what AI is bringing to the table. And I know there's the whole thing with the Stargate program, and where we have where AI is going to take an incredible amount of all the data centers
Quantum
built for
computing.
AI. But what I do,
Yeah.
more computing. I've actually myself. I'm just gonna say it. I've been working on AI for quite some time. I started back in 2009, 10, already imagining things. And my company just released something called Plexus DNS. It's about to go very soon, and we're actually giving some people some demos on it. But it's the first Erlang-based Rust AI engine, AI itself. Why we did it? Because of the network connection. So what we pretty much did was pretty much like a whole taking to focus on DNS. One of the things that when I envisioned like many years ago that DNS was going to be very key into being able to interconnect, like get us to a galactic future, like in space and so forth. Why? Because the internet networks are it's going to interconnect anything, everything. Imagine having the domain in an AI. What our AI does is to defend that domain.
Yeah.
And to be allowed, hey, this is the domain. But it's for AI. I think it's so much possibilities, especially in medicine, and I'm excited about it. But I believe that there has to be a balance.
Yes.
We can't allow AI to take over many jobs. We can't. We have to define, because there are things people still like the human touch. People still love, hey, I like to contact with a real person.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to identify those factors. Better that than profits. Okay, fantastic. If AI is allowing us to scale tremendously, I believe there should be a balance of people in the workforce and what AI can do, because that way everybody benefits.
Yeah, I agree with you on that wholeheartedly. Wrapping up, I wanted to show your site. You mentioned your Plexus DNS server system that you have that you're working on. We're also working on some top secret stuff, me and you, pertaining to SciFiction, which we'll get into in the months ahead. Here's your site. Can you go over this? Is the services you do a lot of stuff with CX, cyber defense, cyber risk, digital infrastructure, digital marketing, all kind of goodies. If you're interested in any of these topics, go to Fastcom Corp, FASTCOMCORP.com, fastcomcorp.com. I'll put your link down here in the, right down there on the on your side on the broadcast, and below your image there, so people can go to fastcomcorp.com.
Go to Plexus DNS. Go to
Let me see what we got. I'm going to bring it up real quick. Plexus, PLEXISDNS.com.
Yeah, Plexius. Yeah, Plexius. PLEXIUS. Plexus DNS. Plexius.
Got it. PLEXIUSDNS.com. Got it. Here it is. I'm going to bring it up here on the screen. Kind of go over this real quick. So I want to show everybody this. There it is. Plexus, the future of DNS security at Plexus DNS. Introducing the world's first DNS security platform with 17 groundbreaking modules, including post-quantum cryptography, ZK snarks, AI-powered intelligence, satellite communication, built with Rust and Erlang Elixir for unmatched performance, security, and reliability, featuring the first AI engine ever built with this technology stack. And this is plexusdns.com, PLEXIUSDNS.com. And this is the new technology you're talking about, you're releasing?
Yes.
And this basically, what can this be applied for in the technology sectors? Different things.
Well, it's different things. Now, the DNS, there's some modules that are not going to be available for the general release, because that has more like Department of Defense, military, government, so forth, especially the STIG part. Because, for instance, there's a protocol in there that we made better, in which for when you put it like a YubiKey HSM, it actually authenticates on the DNS level on top of the application layer. So imagine it'd be very, very hard for an attacker to do when it comes to two-factor authentication and so forth. It's very much for the security domain. So on top of that, the security stack, the STIG rules, is pretty much certain vulnerabilities that covers the Department of Defense. But we pretty much built it from scratch with Rust and Xler. And instead of using C programming, why? Because of the memory and so forth. But DNS queries, encrypted DNS queries. So this is the beautiful thing about this. We, on top of the defense applications that this thing has, and again, I got a little bit fascinated with AI and all this other things for the C4 ISR environments and so forth. That's another topic. But for in general, I believe that people deserve the right for sovereignty of their data, their sovereignty of their networks. And the idea of this technology is to safeguard their homes, interconnect their appliances, and this AI as a guardian, and say, look, getting threat feeds from Arctic Wolf. Actually, before that, it was BlackBerry Silence, but now, so the threat is from OPSWAT to get threat feeds from there. Interconnect with Palo Alto, Fortinet, so forth. And the idea is that those threat feeds, the AI said, oh, we got to block this malicious domain. Oh, wow. And sure, you can have overrides, but imagine all that being able to automatically, start mitigating certain things or allowing you to safeguard LLMs. So what Plexus DNS that others don't is that it can detect LLMs. Let me put it like, imagine this becoming your main DNS query for AI.
Okay.
Like you're running, like imagine OpenAI, or you're running something else, or your own locally hosted Llama and so forth. Well, this thing will detect it, and it will help safeguard from certain vectors of attack. And I played with coding it a little bit, where it codes like where there's a direct interface with LLM and the AI, but it can be a little bit dangerous certain scenarios. So I kind of left.
Don't want to be in Skynet. Well, this thing's amazing. I was looking over the site earlier. It looks like it could be huge. It's amazing.
Yeah. And on top of that, here's the other one that I love. It prevents, like, one of the features that we built into it is it took me quite some time to do it. These 10 years I've been really working on this. It's that I thought about different vectors of attack. Imagine critical infrastructure, or in general, somebody blacking out the internet. Well, I built this module that actually connects to Starlink or Viasat and can actually keep DNS running on the background, like on a network. So you can plug it in and DNS still continue running for a network. So it's got like a backup system. On top of that, other Plexus DNS. So imagine around the world when this thing gets dispersed. So this thing will be able to interconnect to other DNS. Hey, what's the best route to connect to here and there, or this website? This thing will do it. So if let's say somebody wants to censor something on the internet, you start putting this out there, it's going to mitigate censorship.
Wow, that's amazing. And it basically uses AI to get the best connection possible to the network once it's set up or whatever.
Exactly.
Wow. Check this out, everybody. PlexusDNS.com, PLEXIUSDNS.com. Francisco, I want to thank you for joining me on this very multitude of different topics broadcast today on SciFiction.com.
No, thank you for inviting me.
And you have a good day. We'll have to do this again sometime really soon. Okay, man?
All right.
Everybody,
sounds good.
Happy Saturday.
All right. Take care. Take care, everybody.
Too, peace, man.